Many years ago, in this very UU church, a guest speaker one Sunday told of her beautiful son and his tragic death from AIDS. When the service ended, there was a talk-back period where members of the congregation shared thoughts about the service. Another woman shared her sense of connectedness through a very different loss. I can't honestly remember whether it was a beloved animal companion or a relationship gone wrong, or any of the myriad lesser losses. When she suddenly cut herself short and apologized, saying, "But my loss is nothing compared to yours." I will always remember that the woman who had lost her son stopped her midway through the apology, saying, "You cannot compare. Your loss is your loss. It is real." It's not that a pet, no matter how beloved, is comparable to a son. It's that there is no measure for grief. It just doesn't work that way. Throughout the pandemic, I have heard us insist that we're okay, that whatever burdens we carry and losses we bear, there's someone who has it worse, which is undoubtedly true. With so much suffering and inequity in our neighborhoods, in the world, we needn't look far. And it is always appropriate to acknowledge our privilege, the roof over our head, the steady paycheck, the option to order online, health insurance, and to be grateful. But as the months have worn on and we are chin up and carry on, I am concerned that we are using gratitude to deflect our grief. The fact that another may have suffered greater loss does not mean that your loss is any less. It is not whiny to acknowledge losses large and small. It is necessary to move forward. It is, of course, natural to rather be happy than sad. But our culture is often so uncomfortable with loss, we can barely acknowledge it. There is a poison in our culture that denies the darker feelings. I have felt the poison in my own veins when I hear the pain in a friend's voice and try to cheer her up before realizing that what I need to do is listen. We teach young children that it doesn't hurt and it's okay, when sometimes it's really not okay, that sometimes there's a good reason to be sad or angry. When I was a child, funerals were adults-only events, and we were left to ponder death when we buried the hamster, whereas Great Aunt Birchie just disappeared. I know many of you well enough to know how hard you work for justice. I know you practice mindfulness and intentionality of gratitude, and that's a wonderful thing. But untempered by grief, our gratitude is a hollow shell. The one does not take away from the other. They are not like the scales held by Lady Justice. They are not even like night and day, because light and dark implies an essential separateness, whereas, as William Blake so exquisitely wrote, joy and woe are woven fine, the clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. They are not opposites. They are more like colors that can exist in their pure form or mix in infinite hue. We know these things, of course. Our gratitude often contains the awareness of loss, and we only grieve what we care deeply about. Both are grounded in love. Both are umbilicals that connect us to the world. And this is why it matters. Just as gratitude encompasses joy and awe, grief contains both mourning and loss, the gradual letting go of what is irretrievably gone. Some of us have lost friends and loved ones to COVID and to our fragile mortality. After a long and rich life, my mother's time had more than come, but I never imagined I wouldn't be there and that a year would pass before we had a service to celebrate her memory. My friend Charlie was vigorous and fun and sometimes cranky, and cancer stole him from us in a stunningly short time. Our much-loved minister has departed for distant lands. News of the world is fraught with peril. Floods, drought, recession, inflation, Ukraine, Uvalde, voter suppression, insurgency, and now add to that the Supreme Court. It is a lot to carry, my friends. We have watched one another grow older, and beloved children have come into this world that we were unable to meet. We missed special birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, weddings, and holidays. We missed vacations and concerts and eating out and church. And mostly, we missed each other and the sometimes boisterous hubbub of humanity. Some of us miss hugs and coffee hour, and some are glad to have more personal space. And while many are gratefully catching up, some of us are afraid, some exhausted. Others found precious time to tap hidden talents and are overwhelmed by the return to normal. And for those at higher risk, there is no new normal. I have sometimes found myself unreasonably angry when someone makes a poor choice. And I am tired of the endless calculations and choices to be made. We have been resolute and ingenious in finding ways to come together and in celebrating however we could. But whatever lies ahead, which is partly of our making, we have lost the world we once knew, the predictable, the ordinary, the spontaneous, the carefree. There is a long list of things we once took for granted and are now grateful for. And that's a lesson to hold going forward. But there is an equally long list of what ain't coming back that I need to let go of. I need to hold these losses close to my heart, and then I need to release them. I cannot release what I have not held, because grief is the shadow of love. It is a paradox that we are entangled by what we attempt to cast off and are freed by what we are able to love and release. 2,000 years ago, the philosopher Seneca wrote, "All your sorrows have been wasted on you if you have not yet learned how to be wretched." That is, grief is not a problem to be solved. The psychotherapist Francis Weller writes that we carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, and suggests that we are enlarged by them. How much sorrow can I hold? That is how much gratitude I can give. Grief keeps the heart fluid and soft, which helps make compassion possible. The poet Khalil Gibran said, "The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain." Throughout most of human history, we have celebrated both sorrow and joy together. The communal rituals of grief, largely missing in our culture, remind us that your loss, large or small, is your loss, but it is not yours alone. As a religious community, we come together to encourage and support one another, but not only one another. If we are able to carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, if we are able to mourn what is lost while never losing sight of the power of love to heal the world, if we hold both heartbreak and awe and grieve without embarrassment, then may we stand together in love. May love light not only our way, but may we carry that light into the world, and may we act with greater wisdom, courage, and compassion. Amen. Blessed be.